We live?
We are live. It shows 1:59, but we're quick here.
And we'll count. We got 10 seconds according to my
10 seconds.
My Garmin watch, so we can let people kind of join in.
I'm sure everybody was here early for today's topic. So.
They're like, John and Chris are talking.
Yeah,
100%. I'm getting there early. I'm not missing a second.
Must watch viewing here.
That's exactly right. Can't miss. I think everyone's ready for the political election stuff to be off, and they need some comic relief, so they figured we would be a good source of that.
So welcome everybody. We've got a great topic again. A good amount of y'all signed up, and we're hitting a good nerve with our topics, I think. So today's really got a lot of interest and response. So mastering the art of project pursuit. This is something that we talk about daily at TrebleHook. And just want to share some things with you. I think you'll find this interesting and fun today. So I'm John Goff. I'm Director of Business Development here at TrebleHook. I've been focused exclusively on CRM for AEC firms for the last 6 years. I came from Oracle prior to this, so my background really is database, security, and then launched right into the two things that I like the most: tools for salespeople, being a salesperson, and the construction business and industry. So nice to be with you all today.
Awesome. And I'm Chris. John, thanks for having me today.
You're welcome.
My name's Chris Fay. I'm the founder and CEO of TrebleHook. Extensive experience in the AEC space as director of business development, project management, have been running our sister company, a company called TPM, for the last 14 years. And then we founded TrebleHook a little over 3 years ago. And so excited for today's topic. We were kind of preparing. There's all topics I get excited about, but when we start talking around strategy and kind of where we're taking our companies, these are things that I really get excited about. So I'm fired up for today.
This is right in your wheelhouse. This is kickoffs and company meetings and everything. We talk about a lot of these same concepts. So we really do eat our own dog food when it comes to this subject.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know housekeeping, we're recording this for anybody that's going to miss it. And then if you have questions, just make sure to put those in the chat, and we will have some time for questions at the end, and then try and get you back on your way to doing whatever it is that you do best in your career.
So we've got a good visual. The last few times we've had the brain, we've focused on the left brain and the right brain, the art versus science, and how that really both plays a part in business and in our lives. Today we've replaced the brain. The brain's been retired, at least for now, and we've got the Hedgehog. And the Hedgehog doesn't have a name, so maybe the first thing, other than questions in the chat, would be name our Hedgehog here. But
yeah.
Why are we looking at this, Chris?
Yeah, we could have a crowdsourced hedgehog naming contest. I was thinking it should be like Hook or Hooky or something like that, or Harry. I feel like it should start with an H.
I thought of Henry, but
Henry's a good one. And I figured we've shown the left brain and the right brain. We actually had a porta potty on one of our slides. If you remember. So we figured giving you a couple of visuals to set the tone. But yeah, so the Hedgehog is from a book that we're going to reference a little bit today. So many folks in the business space have read Good to Great by Jim Collins. It's kind of a classic book around what takes companies from good companies to great companies. And I was thinking about this as we were preparing for today. There's nothing wrong with being a good company.
No.
I mean, there are lots of really good companies out there, but a lot of the questions that we get from AEC firms and other organizations is, how do I take that next step for growth? Like, how do I go from where we are today to where we want to be in the future? And so, Jim writes about this story of the fox and the hedgehog, and that, the fox knows a lot of different ways to hunt. It can try and attack the hedgehog with lots of different tactics. The hedgehog knows one tactic, and it's to roll up into a ball and protect itself. Yeah. And what's interesting is that works. And so Jim introduces this concept of the hedgehog concept in businesses, and the ones that have moved from good businesses to great have driven a deeper focus into what their business wants to become than others. And they pick something that they can be the best in the world at, or the best in the region at, And they do that time and time again to develop some expertise in the business. So that's kind of one thing. So as we kind of go through today, we're going to have this theme of where is my AEC firm focused? A lot of AEC firms in the industry have multiple divisions and they focus on all sorts of types of things. I'm going to push that a little bit to be thinking about where are the areas that my AEC firm can truly be great and to be the best in the region or the best in the state or the best in the country at a particular concept. And so that's kind of why we're introducing the Hedgehog. So, the kind of the second piece of Jim's book is this idea of the flywheel.
Yeah.
And, so first it starts with this concept of, I'm going to pick my Hedgehog concept, whatever it is I want to be the best in the world at. I start implementing that into my business. I start seeing visible results. People start getting excited about what's happening, and there starts building some energy, which then creates momentum on the flywheel. We start leaning deeper into our Hedgehog concept, more results, more excitement, and that flywheel just continues to spin, and it continues to spin faster and faster and faster. And so, one thing we talked a little bit about it while we were prepping, John, is that the flywheel size can be very small or it can be very large.
Right.
Flywheels take some time to get going. And what we're going to be talking about today is not an instant overnight shift in the way you're running your business. It's a gradual concept to start moving your business towards what it's going to take to be great and to take that next step for growth. So we're going to reference some of these things today, but just as a reference of how the flywheel works.
Yeah, and we do it in TPM and TrebleHook's business when we talk about the 5-year plan. We're looking at when we implement change, and in our case, we're looking at really ideal customer profiles, right, as opposed to ideal project profiles. And so we're looking at who are the customers that we can provide the most value for. Mm-hmm. Where can we be the best? And it doesn't happen overnight. TPM has a lot of different products, different divisions. You're not going to turn an aircraft carrier around overnight, but you start to put the seeds in place, and you start to pick up momentum over time. But you have to start with a vision.
You got to start.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we kind of talk about why. So in the AEC space, what is it? Why does this even matter? And you could say AEC, you could say technology, you could say services, whatever your business is. But the reality is, customers are demanding differentiation. They're demanding more from the vendors and the partners that they are consuming products and services
Absolutely.
from.
Think of Amazon. People want things next day.
Oh man,
right?
You think about it, just honestly the appetite. It's one of the notes in here, but the appetite for a poor experience is dwindling.
Yeah.
We all expect Amazon-like results and customer experiences that can compete with the largest organizations in the world. And so we expect that in every aspect of our life. On top of that, projects are complex. Interest rates are continuing to fluctuate, hopefully heading in the right direction. Running a business is not any easier. We have 103 employees, and I can tell you that it's not any easier. Labor rates are through the roof. Technology is disrupting. There's stuff coming at us, and
hiring good people.
Exactly.
Retaining good talent. Yeah.
So it's hard to be good at everything and to impact change in everything that we do. So why focus is because it enables you to put more energy and more momentum to build a better business in a particular area of focus, in a particular hedgehog. So I think it's good of all of us, whether you're in marketing or business development, an executive, project manager, whatever your role is that you understand the need to focus. And we have to challenge kind of the status quo of, hey, I used to cover these states and I have all these divisions and I just take any business that comes my way. In order to take your business to the next level, the customers are demanding a better experience. And so that's kind of where we're going to be focused a bit on our conversation today.
Good. So we've got the front, we've created our own TrebleHook flywheel here to kind of go along with the theme. And it's really, we've broken it down into 3 parts. So you've got the unique value proposition. That's what differentiates you from the competition, helps you win, helps you grow, all the things that you're looking to do. We've got the ideal project profile, identifying those types of projects where you're most successful. And we've got our third hook in TrebleHook, which is pursue and land the right projects. So we're going to go through these one by one, but anything just kind of overall, Chris, as we're looking at this kind of as the higher concept of the TrebleHook flywheel here.
Yeah, it's just understanding that the concept of a flywheel of starting, and that each step feeds the next one, and it is cyclical by nature. So, this is not a linear path, but a cycle. So the more that we feed into the flywheel, the faster the flywheel will spin. So, our unique value prop is going to feed into our ideal project profile. That's going to feed into our pursuit process. How we win and lose jobs is going to feed back into the value prop, which then feeds. And so these three things kind of continue to feed one another. So we'll break down these in a few seconds. Yeah.
Good deal. So starting with the first one, the unique value proposition.
Yeah. So, this is what is a unique value proposition? It's what differentiates you from the competition, right? What helps you win projects and what helps you grow. So each of these things, we kind of identified three kind of action steps that you can take to be thinking about creating your unique value proposition to ultimately feed the flywheel. So, here we talk about unique value prop. The first thing you got to do is, when you're trying to understand your unique value proposition, you might know it, right? Is to do some research and some planning. You have to take a look at history to understand. So, where is my expertise? Where do I have the highest levels of customer satisfaction? Where do I see the market opportunity? Where is there potential experience inside of my business? I might run an updated SWOT analysis. These are things that kind of go into the planning process for really any business. Once I understand kind of where some key areas of focus and what maybe is unique to our firm that might be not unique to others, I then need to define my unique value proposition, and not only define it, but document it. There's something to be said when you can take a grouping of words that comes out verbally and actually document it on a website, on a piece of collateral, on an email template or a talk track. So, really that concept of not only just defining something, but figuring out a way to document this. That's your website.
Well, you're telling a continuous story that makes sense across all the different channels.
Right.
Whether it's people, your website, emails, literature, whatever it is, everything kind of aligns so that people understand at a glance where you're strong.
Well, and it feels real too when you kind of you widgetize that thought and you put a bow around it and you present it. Everyone's like, oh, okay, I get it. Like you're actually legit on this. And so we've kind of defined and we document this unique value proposition, and then we need to enable and deploy it. So it's great to have on your website. It's great to have it as a part of your collateral thing.
Now comes the hard part.
Yeah, we got to teach our employees about it. We got to go tell the world. We have to go start leveraging the flywheel to start getting this unique value proposition. And you can kind of think about unique value proposition as more of an umbrella, holistic. And we'll give you some tips and tricks here in a bit about how to deploy this. But, one of the things we talked about before is starting small. Right. Yeah. Some of you might come from small firms. Some of you folks might come from very large firms. You can't just immediately change your entire firm's history or entire firm's focus overnight. You have to start somewhere. And so the first step is to pick out a couple key areas where you have a true unique value proposition. So on the next slide, we really kind of talk about how to do this. So on the left-hand side is actually from Good to Great, the book Good to Great, and is really how to identify your hedgehog concept. Yep. And so it's what am I extremely passionate about? What makes money, and what can I be the best in the world at? So I like that. It makes a whole lot of sense. Jim Collins has done a lot more in his professional career than I have. So I can't so far. Yeah. So I can't at all criticize what Jim has. But the one thing that does not take into account is the competition.
Right. You're not operating in a vacuum.
I could be super passionate about something, and it could make me money. And I could be, really, really good, but I could have a competitor that's trying to do the exact same thing. And so it's important for me to understand where the competition is. So on the right-hand side, if you search and learn about branding and unique value propositions, you'll see some version of what's on the right-hand side. But it's a very similar thing of I need to understand what the market and the customer wants. And I think oftentimes we undervalue what the customer wants. We don't talk to our customers enough. Yeah. We founded TrebleHook. We started TrebleHook because we talked talk to our customers.
Right.
It wasn't our brainchild. It was our customers telling us that there was a need. You also need to understand your competitors and what their strengths are. Where are they winning and why are they winning? And then you understand your firm's strengths or your hedgehog or yours. And so you see how these three things can combine. And so if you're trying to if your strengths mirror your competitor's strengths, well, that's kind of we call it the dumb strategy. That's just kind of a dumb area to focus on. Well, it's like,
you're either not going to, I mean, there's two outcomes of that. You're not going to win very often if they're better at it than you are, or you're going to have to try to find some tactics to win, like lowering your price, doing some things that aren't advantageous. I always ask, hey, are there projects that you are pursuing or have pursued in the past where you did not win because it slips through the cracks? The answer is almost invariably yes. The other answer or question is, have you ever won a project that you really wish you had passed on? And the answer to that is almost invariably yes as well. So in that kind of dumb section, it's not just, hey, we're losing here all the time, but it's also we're winning where we really don't want to win. We should be spending our time elsewhere.
Yep. Yeah. And if you're spending time trying to just butt heads against another competitor that's telling a very similar story, again, we're talking about going from good to great. You can have a good business competing against healthy competition, but to have a great one, you need to really figure out a way to separate yourself. Similarly, if you're focused on projects or areas where you're not strong, but your competition is, and it's meeting a customer demand, well, that's obviously a losing proposition. Right. So when we think about our unique value proposition, we really want to push ourselves outside of our comfort zone to say, where am I super strong? What is my hedgehog? Where's the area that I can truly be unique in this region, in this area, in the nation, in the state, that my competitors are not strong. So that's why I have to understand their weaknesses and their strengths, and it has to match the market demand. Right. So many times businesses create offerings that customers don't care about.
Yeah, right.
So the winning area where we really want to focus is this area of it meets customer demands and it matches our strengths and not matches the competitor. So we think about unique value proposition as we're kind of thinking about this section is what is that hedgehog? What is that area of focus that I can double down on into to start really focusing on the win segment of this category? So that's kind of unique value prop as we talk about it. There's a lot more to kind of get into it, but it's important to understand where you've come from. It's important to understand what differentiates you. You have to understand where your competition is. You have to understand what your customers are looking for, and that enables you to find your niche.
Yeah, and kind of thinking back on the previous slide too, when it's where your strengths are, kind of with your gut. It's like, hey, I know our ideal projects. I know my best customers, but you're probably right most of the time. But if you're not using data to back that up, then you're going to be wrong sometimes.
Yep.
And so it's really important to have the data to drive that knowledge base.
Yep, 100%.
So the second little piece of the pie here, the ideal project profile. If you've come to any of our previous webinars, we hit on this to some degree every webinar because it's so important. But as the second piece of the flywheel, we've figured out, contemplated, strategized. This is our unique value proposition. Now that's going to feed into our ideal project profile.
Yes. I mean, like we would say in our business, an ideal customer profile, it's the type of customer that we want to pursue that has the needs that align with our unique value proposition, right? This is that win segment of the chart we're looking at.
Yeah, this is what I focus on all day long.
Right.
Who do we have the greatest capability around? Who can we serve the best?
Right.
Where is our product strongest?
And so you have to know that before you start pursuing projects.
Exactly.
So it's great to know that, hey, we're TrebleHook, we're a technology business that has a pursuit platform purpose-built for AEC, the mid-market AEC companies. That's great. We kind of know our focus, but we have to define the types of companies, or in the AEC space, the types of projects that we want to go after, and we have to have examples of what that looks like. So that's where the ideal project profile comes in. So the first thing is to really take your unique value proposition and define the characteristics that match your ideal project profile. So it could be lots of things. It could be industry, region, expertise, applications. It could be a cultural play. So what are maybe like the 4, 5, 6 key characteristics that define your ideal project profile. And once you identify those, you actually want to build example project profiles.
Right.
And so we then create these project profiles. And, I always say kind of start with 2 to 3, right? Mm-hmm. Start small, demonstrate success. Again, the flywheel doesn't start fast. It starts small and slow and then builds momentum over time. So once you understand these characteristics, you can actually create a couple sample project profiles. So I'm looking for projects of this size, this revenue, with this offering, in these areas, with these things. This is project profile number 1. I might name it something, the office attack 2, giving it a name that everyone can really rally around. And then once I've got these profiles, I want to look into my history, or I want to look into the future, and I want to pick out a couple projects that I've hopefully completed that would match that profile. So as I go into my marketing and my business development team or my seller doers, I can say, look, here's our unique value prop. Here's the story. Here's the types of projects that we want to pursue. Here are a couple sample profiles that I want you to really get specific at looking for. And here are some sample projects we've done in the past that support why we have such expertise. So this ideal project profile is taking your unique value prop homework to the next level and starting to arm your team with the tools they're going to need to ultimately get to the third part of our flywheel. So we just created like a simple example. So on the next slide, we have just a high level example. And I created this example because we just
it's close to home.
Yeah. We have a number of office locations and we just moved into a new building in Charlotte, North Carolina, our Charlotte location there. And so this is kind of an example. So an ideal project profile, how myopic can you get? Well, corporate office. Great. Lots of people do a lot of corporate office. Okay. Client type. I'm looking for people or projects that are focused on local and regionally owned businesses. Okay. So I'm not looking for, healthcare systems and huge corporate entities. I'm looking for firms that are locally and regionally owned.
So you've narrowed it down.
Starting to get a little bit more narrow.
Yep.
The application might be, I'm looking for firms or companies that are going to own the building and occupy the building. So in our Charlotte location, we own the building and we also occupy it.
Yep.
Well, it's two different mindsets when you look at kind of the persona of a landlord versus a tenant. Right. So an ideal project profile for one of our customer firms could be, I'm focusing on people that are going to own and occupy these owner-occupied facilities. And then, getting even deeper, you could then start looking at the type of project size. So, hey, maybe it's $2 to $10 million in construction value, and I'm looking for jobs that I can get at least 10% profit. So you can see here how we've taken just a handful of classification types and we've started to build a project profile. If I were to name this project profile, if I had an AEC firm and I would to name this profile, I would call this like the owner-occupied, the local owner-occupied profile. Yep. And you start thinking about, well, how does this value prop, how can I communicate a value proposition to this ideal project profile? Well, in this instance, if I had an architecture firm, an engineering firm, I could say, well, we understand what it's like to own and occupy our own corporate spaces. We understand that there's a balance in really maximizing this amazing space for your company, for your operating company who's the tenant, but also leveraging maximum value as the landlord for real estate, because you want it to be a win-win for both the organizations. Mm-hmm. And we actually have a process that ensures that you get the most value out of your investment while also supporting your operating company's growth. So I've never heard a firm, an AEC firm, get this myopic. But when we start talking about challenging the status quo and getting deep into ideal project profiles and focusing on a hedgehog, you can see how myopic I can begin to get. And then I can start taking this story out to the marketplace. So
it's the story. It's your own people. First of all, make sure your own people understand the story, your purpose, the value, and then it's bringing it out into the marketplace. So it's how you communicate that on your website, literature, just making sure that everything's aligned, that messaging aligns, so that people understand just like that. Like, hey, if I am in this situation where I am an owner and occupier, who am I going to look to? and you immediately go to this, firm who's got this expertise that's very apparent to you.
Yep.
And this is something that we look at every day with TrebleHook. We break it down. I start out with, it's architecture, engineering, construction firms. Well, how many of those are there in like the U.S.?
Lots.
It's too many to pursue. So let's break it down. Like, what if they have multiple offices? Well, we can provide a little bit more value. There's communication issues there. They're a little bit larger number of employees. They definitely have more needs, particularly if they're on spreadsheets or other type systems that are maybe not cream of the crop. We've got a better chance of adding some value there. Do they have dedicated business development? Are they seller doers? Do they have marketing teams? Are they generating a lot of proposals? Those are things that I look at. If the answer is like no to all those, then I'm probably like, well, we might be able to sell to that person and provide some value, but it's not where I'm going to focus my effort and time. If they come to me, I'll take a look at it.
And I think, like we've learned, just as any AEC firm, and the reason why this flywheel works is we might go deploy this ideal project profile focus. So this construction firm or architecture firm might go deploy this focus. Well, after deploying it for some time, you might realize that actually the revenue value is better suited in like 10 to 15 million, right. And we realized that we could actually do 12% profit when we focus on a little bit larger job. Yep. So these ideal project profiles can morph and change over time, but they have to be put through the flywheel.
Right.
So,
yep. So the last piece, the third hook of TrebleHook is pursue and land the right project. So this is really, where we focus a lot of time, and this is a lot of our value is helping firms pursue and land the right projects.
Yeah. Yes, our tagline, I love it. We talk a lot about this, and we've talked about, like, for our business, we don't want to just help customers win more work. We want them to win more of the right work. Right. And so what is pursuing and landing the right projects? It's basically just that disciplined action of taking your unique value prop and your ideal project profile and deploying it, like actually putting it to use. And so the three kind of things we talked about is, number one, having a detailed go-to-market. All right, I understand my unique value prop. I've got my ideal project profiles. Now what I need to do? Well, I need to identify some target lists of prospects and customers that I need to call on. I need to make sure I've got that collateral. I need to make sure that I've got that unified messaging across our firms, that everyone's speaking the right language. I need to be prepared to put a disproportionate amount of my time towards these areas, right? Start moving more of my time towards these areas. That's what we talk about when we talk about go to market. Secondly, as we start uncovering projects, right, that might fit or not fit our ideal project profile, we have to have some sort of scoring system. Right. So if a business developer is going out there and they're like, hey, based upon our unique value prop, based upon our ideal project profile that we want to pursue, I've got these 10 jobs. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Can we assign some scoring to them so that we can very easily see that, hey, those 3 jobs over here fit my ideal project profile. These 7 don't. Let's make sure we go all into these 3, and we'll see how to maybe downplay or undermanage the 7. So having a scoring process will help any inbound opportunities that you're pursuing easily filter through your ideal project profile and unique value prop, so that you're spending more time on the right types of projects to pursue. And then finally, as you start doing that and starting to focus on the right types of projects and having a more disproportionate share of energy and effort, you have to measure and report. Hey, are we seeing an improvement in win rate? Are we seeing the margins that we had hoped for? Are the projects that we are winning, do they match the ideal project profile? So I'm going to continually measure this success. And then as I see measurements and reporting, I'm going to put that back into my unique value prop, which then goes back into my ideal project profile, which then I'm going to measure and report through my pursuit process. Now, obviously, we're talking a lot about branding and strategy and pursuit. Your firm obviously has to do an amazing job at designing or building or doing what it is that your core business does, right? So that's kind of a whole different topic, is the operational aspect of the business. But as we talk about the pursuit process, this is how we really start supporting that hedgehog and that flywheel. Yeah. And so, the example on the next slide that we have here, everybody's seen a sales funnel, right? You have a lot of projects that you bring in at the top. and you filter them out, and you're going to win a few at the bottom, right? And that's kind of the traditional sales funnel that's on the left-hand side. What we want to do is start moving towards the right-hand side of the screen, where we actually could be pursuing less projects with a much higher win rate. So I have less projects that are able to make it through the funnel and actually win more work, because I'm focusing on the right types of projects. So this is what you should expect to see, is a lowering of the amount of projects you're pursuing with a much higher win rate, which ultimately yields you a much better growth statistic.
This is really the key slide right here. When you think about, and I ask this question a lot, do you know your average cost of pursuit? Sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes the answer is no. But whether that number is known specifically or not, there is a cost of pursuit. There's a cost in terms of dollars. There's a cost in terms of hours. There's an opportunity cost. You could be going after this work as opposed to that work. And so the funnel on the right is really ideal, because you're lowering your cost of pursuit while actually increasing your win percentage. And if you do it right, increasing your margins overall as well. So more higher win percentage, lower cost of pursuit, higher margins, focusing in on what you do best. On the left is what most firms do.
Right.
We want to move over to the right, and get more into that model.
And we'll talk about some tips and tricks here in just a minute. But AEC is typically a local delivery, right? You typically don't have architects in California doing a lot of work in Miami, or you don't have a lot of contractors in New York delivering work that's in Texas. I mean, it is a local and a regional thing. And so when we are local and regional, you kind of you sometimes feel like you want to get everything in the area.
Yep.
I want to get all the jobs in this area. That might not be the right approach. That's the left-hand side.
Yep.
But maybe I want to go win the right jobs in this area and let the competition take what fits their persona. So cool. So to kind of wrap up the two flywheel conversations, we talk about this, and if you've not read Good to Great, it's always a great tune-up. I read it probably every 3 or 4 years. It's an awesome classic book, just to continue to challenge your thought process. But in Jim Collins' flywheel, or call it the TrebleHook flywheel, and I hope I'm not doing like a trademark.
I hope Jim
trademark violation.
Come get you here.
Yeah, I gave him credit on the left one, but I'm taking it on the right.
I didn't see him on the attendance list, so I think we're safe.
You'll be good. But the entire concept is just being clear about what you want to specialize in, where you want to focus, how you're going to differentiate yourself. Then you start making investments in your business to start turning a disproportionate share of your energy and effort towards that focus. And then you start using data and insights and steering the company and your messaging towards that. And as you do that, your flywheel will begin to get bigger, and your flywheel will begin to speed up. Now, unlike selling software, John, I mean, projects might take a year or 2 years for some of our customers to land projects. And then it might take another year or 2 years to design or build that project. Yep. So it takes time, and it takes commitment. And so, we've kind of ended on the last one with just some tips and tricks, right? Just kind of thinking through what are some tips and tricks as I'm thinking about, if I'm an AEC, leader or a business developer or marketer, like what are some things that I need to be thinking about? And
your vision, which is, all the things that we've talked about. I swore I was going to get in like the Swiss Army knife kind of analogy, and here we are kind of at the end, and I haven't. So there's a lot of firms that I talk to. It's third generation, family owned. They do what we've been talking about, maybe trying to get away from. But they're fine. That's their business. They're not necessarily looking to grow their business. They do a lot of different things. They want to kind of dominate their area. And honestly, that's not really the people that we're talking to here today. If you're in a kind of we're happy where things are, we're not looking to grow. We're looking to maintain. Then you're in a little bit different boat. But having the vision of, all right, we are in a growth mindset. We want to drive behavior towards that end. What do we do? That's really what we've been talking about today.
Well, I think any business, ours included, is just understanding the need to focus. Yeah. We're in a more global environment. You have competitors that are not just regional or local, but they're all over the place. And you're seeing continually firms continuing to focus and delivering expertise. And again, it's all about the customer. I mean, it's all about the people that are paying us to do what it is that we all do best, right? They're demanding more. They're demanding expertise. They're demanding a level of experience on these projects that you all are working on that's unlike what it used to be, And so we have to make sure that we can invest appropriately to deliver that experience. And if we're spread too thin in too many different areas of our business, it's hard to really make the investments needed to deliver the experiences. So having a narrower focus allows us to double down on the experiences that our customers deliver, which obviously improves our win rate, et cetera. So we come back to just making sure that we're clear on our vision and where we're going. This is a leadership conversation, getting into planning, got to be super clear. The other thing is this takes belief. You have to believe in your strategy, and it takes courage, and it takes time and commitment. You can't roll something like this out and then in 90 days be like, well, that didn't work. You've got to, you have to stay committed to the process and believe that what you're doing is the right focus area. And I love talking about, getting comfortable being uncomfortable. Like, you have to do that. Yep. And with that might mean that your firm might need some new expertise. It might need some new partnerships.
Yeah, I was thinking about hiring. I mean, you've got this vision. You've got to make sure that you're hiring people who support that vision, and you've got to have the people who are already employed there to buy into the vision. If they don't, you may need to make some changes there.
Yeah, and it actually could alienate certain parts of the business. If you have 5 or 6 different divisions or industry areas of focus in your company, and you decide that 2 of them are what are really the unique value proposition and where you can win and where you can be successful, the people in the other 3 areas of the business might feel alienated. Yep. And so that's why it's super important to make sure you're conveying the vision and where you're heading and why to try and get those people on board. Right. And it's not that they go away. In this, it doesn't mean that everything that doesn't support everything does not support your unique value prop just stops. You're still going to do those things. We're just talking about more energy and effort in some singular areas. Yep. And then, we talk about this in our business, but, you might have to expand beyond where you're currently geographically located. Yeah. You might actually have to go step over a couple non-ideal projects in order to get to the right ones, because you're going to deliver much more value and higher profitability for your firm and higher growth. So you might have to look a little bit beyond your geography to start telling your story to a broader audience. And
not just geography, Chris. It's clients that you've worked with in the past. They may be folks that you've worked with for quite a few years, and you realize that they just really aren't in your ideal project profile. They're not an ideal client anymore. You're not really profitable. You're doing that work at the expense of doing other work that is really where you want to make your focus.
Yep. I agree.
So you might have to step over that as well. It's not just geography. It could be certain projects, certain clients that you may have worked with in the past.
Yeah, and it's hard. I mean, it's really tough, and I think that's where the courage and the belief and the commitment comes in. And then finally is you got to have a system and systems that will help you do this. You cannot do this by extracting stuff out of people's minds. You have to leverage past project data. You have to analyze that data. You have to be able to score projects and measure and report and hold teams accountable. So having a system that is the underpinning of this strategy is going to ensure that you are staying on track to hit your goals and objectives to continue to grow. So just some tips and tricks for people as they're thinking about maybe pursuing this type of conversation.
Good deal. Well, I think we're wrapping it up here. If hopefully there's some questions in the chat. I don't have any visibility into that, so let's see.
We're gonna ask
DJ Alex over.
DJ Alex
been running the board for us.
Yes, so got one here. We're a diverse firm. It's going to take a lot of time to focus like this. Where do you recommend starting for a diverse?
So diverse firm. wondering where to get going.
Where to start?
We've talked about a lot of things here. It can seem like we threw a lot against the wall. Where do you even begin?
Yeah, it's a great question. I honestly, sometimes the larger and the more complex your organization is, sometimes the harder it is to get going, right? If you're a small firm, maybe a boutique firm, you already have some areas of focus. It's easier to make these pivots. Sometimes the larger your firm is, it can be hard. So where do you start? You start with a very small flywheel, moving very slowly. That's it. Right. So if I've got 5 or 6 different divisions inside of my organization, what I want to do is I want to do the research. I want to understand of all those divisions and all those areas, where do I feel like I can truly have a unique value prop that's going to be different than the competition and support what the market needs are. And then what I'm probably going to do is I'm just going to pick 1 or 2 of those. Let the rest of the business run. Let it run. You've been very successful. You've done some great things. Pick 1 or 2 key areas that you think you might have something special, and just double the investment in that area. Start putting a little bit more energy and effort in those particular areas. Start telling a different story in those unique areas. Start augmenting your website over time. Start enabling to other parts of your business over time. But the trick there is to start small. If you start too big, if you try and attack the entire firm, you're going to have a complete cluster on your hands in dealing with trying to manage that change. So demonstrating success, getting that flywheel turning. The flywheel over time will become larger. It'll become faster. Might take you 5 years to infiltrate that through your entire business, but that's okay. So starting small, I think, is key in that one.
Yep, absolutely.
Another one here. How does TrebleHook help with focusing our firm?
So this one's self-serving.
Yeah.
How does TrebleHook help? We've talked about all these things, and when I think about just kind of systems in general, like what system helps the most, where, for what people, you've got a lot of choices. There's a ton of different systems out there, different softwares, different specialties. You've got laser focused specific tools. You've got tools that say they're all in one and kind of multifaceted. Just kind of, why does CRM, as I'm looking at this conversation, even taking TrebleHook out of the equation, CRM specifically is really, I look at it as the hub of the wheel. It's where you can integrate other systems, where it makes the most sense to pull in data from your financial ERP system, or connect with some other systems, project management systems, digital asset management system. CRM is kind of uniquely situated in the hub of the wheel, and I think this is an area when it's your pursuit tool. So it's identifying those specific areas and gathering the data and having a system that allows you to gather the right data at the right time that you can then utilize in the ways that we've talked about here.
Yeah. It's the center point of the flywheel.
It's the center point of the flywheel.
I love that, man. That was all
right. I didn't even think, I wasn't thinking of the flywheel as I was going through, but I was thinking about the flywheel.
I thought you were going to mention the hedgehog.
No.
There's probably some analogy on the hedgehog. No, I think you nailed it. And we try and make these webinars, non-self-serving and really just talking about topics. And, but you're exactly right. I mean, we have 3 prongs to our hook, and the very first prong is centralizing and leveraging project data.
Yeah.
So our goal ultimately is to connect in and to bring all the project data in together. And why? It's so that you can do the research, so that you can understand where your wins are and your losses are and where your unique value proposition is. And then, then the second step is your ideal project profile is to create scoring systems and characteristics. Well, that's what we do. Yeah. We take key characteristics and we implement that into a scoring system that can help score and prioritize your information. And then obviously the pursuing and landing the right projects is having an easy to use pursuit tool that connects all the data and all the people that's going to help you implement that ideal project profile. So I think the CRM is such an industry term.
Yeah.
Right? I don't look at TrebleHook as a CRM. We have to call it CRM because that's what everybody else in the world calls it.
Searching for CRM, they got to find you.
They got to find us. But we're really more of a project information or project relationship management system. But yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we do is we congregate all the data into one area, allow you to leverage that for research and statistics, create your unique value prop, create your ideal project profiles, score your projects as you're pursuing them, and then ultimately landing the right types of work and then feeding that ultimate flywheels. It's what we do. It's why we started the company.
That's right.
So
yep.
Awesome.
Any other questions, Alex? We're good.
It's the last one.
All right.
Oh man, we got the quote.
Wait a minute. We took this out, but Chris, now we've
Alex
put it back in.
Alex put it in.
I don't know how he
snuck
that in on us.
Snuck it in. No, this one of my favorite quotes. It hangs on the office in my wall, and we just talked about believing in where you're going. So where you're taking your firm, your destiny, your vision, all starts with your beliefs. And then, beliefs are going to turn into your thoughts to words, words to actions, actions to habits, habits to values, and values to destiny. And anywhere you want to go in your life or in business, that destiny you're trying to achieve first starts with your belief that you can get there. And so if you want to grow, if you want to be a great AEC firm, if you want to double your business in certain areas, it first starts with a core belief that you can get there. Yep. And then those beliefs are going to ultimately infiltrate through your organization to ultimately get you to your destiny.
Right.
So
right.
Karma.
We got it. It was meant to be. Well, thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. We did. And we'll see you next time.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.